Have you ever noticed that you have an inner critic? That voice that just goes on and on about how horrible you are and how you should be different than you are and how you're always messing up and no wonder because of the type of person that you are, and it just never seems to stop? Or, maybe it's gone on for so long and it's so frequent that you don't even notice it anymore. You don't notice the words that come out of your mouth. You don't notice all those self-condemning thoughts that go through your head. But your family and your friends notice, don't they? Your husband, he just, shakes his head when he hears those words coming out of your mouth. Your daughter just like, oh, Mom, quit saying that to yourself. Maybe your best friend has just tried to have some serious talks with you about how you shouldn't talk to yourself that way. And maybe you feel the same way too, that you shouldn't talk to yourself that way, but you just can't stop it. Or maybe even there's a part of you that feels like you really deserve it. Well, what I want to help you with today is to understand where this is coming from within you and why it's there, why that inner critic is there. But then also I want to talk to you about what you shouldn't do in order to try to stop that inner critic. And then lastly, we're going to look at what you can do to put a stop to that cruel voice that is always wanting to beat you up. So if you don't know me, well, I probably ought to introduce myself. My name is Tawnya Kordenbrock, and I am the person behind arenewedlife.com and the creator of the Mastering Emotions program, where I help women to rewire their brains so that they can break free from fear, anger, and shame, and be able to love themselves, to feel loved by others, and to have a deeper relationship with God. And if you haven't done so already, check out the previous teaching that I did. It was called 4 Reasons Why You Beat Yourself Up. So that's going to be really helpful to go along with today's teaching. And also be sure to stay until the end because I have a free offer for you that I don't want you to miss. For now, the first thing we want to look at is, where does this inner critic come from? And like I said a moment ago, if you really think about it, that inner critic has probably been around in your life for a long, possibly even since you were a child. And why did this happen? Well, this was a way for you to cope with the uncomfortable emotions that you were experiencing. And I talked about this more in the previous teaching that I did. So again, you're going to want to check that out. And a little bit of what I talked about with that was with these uncomfortable emotions, such as when you were a child and you would feel upset, you were hurt, you were angry, you were fearful, yet whatever was going on in your family, for whatever reason, those hurts weren't attended to. You didn't have someone who would come to you and help you work through those emotions or through your anger, but instead those emotions were ignored or they were considered as bad. And so then what happens within a child is the child would turn back on themselves and criticize themselves for feeling the way that they were feeling. And so this is very well maybe what happened with you. And because it's been going on for so long, it becomes what could be called a habit. And what that means is that the neuronal pathways, the neurons within your brain, have formed a circuit. And so, like a pathway that they fire down continuously, that they're used to going in that pathway, so that when an emotion is triggered of embarrassment or fear or hurt, it's going to it's going to trigger that emotion within your brain. It's going to go down that pathway and you're going to have the same response. And for you, that response is going to be criticizing yourself. It's very much similar to, like, for instance, my husband and I, this doesn't have anything to do with pain, but this is just an example of kind of how this works. We lived in the same house for over 35 years. And so we were very much used to driving, the same roads, the same direction all the time, day in, day out for 35 years. And we really didn't think about it, of course, of, how to get home, right? And if we were out on vacation and we came back, got to the expressway, got into our town, and we took the small roads that took us to our street and then to our house without even thinking about it. We didn't have to put it on our GPS of how to travel through our town to find our house. We just went there automatically. Now, a few years ago, we sold that house, moved to a new house. It was very new to us. It's not too far from where we used to live, but every time we would be coming home from work or from church, we would have to stop and think. We'd have to notice, oh my goodness, here I am driving to my old house. That's just the way that when our brains function on automatic, that is the way the pathway it went down within our brains, affecting our bodies, our actions, and the way that we thought, the things that we told ourselves. And it just took us to that old house, to where, it was automatic. And so that's what's happening with you also. That automatic trigger is occurring and it's taking you down that same pathway toward responding the way you always have, which is criticizing yourself. Let me know in the comments below if that is making sense for you, if that gives you a better idea of where that inner voice is coming from, the inner critic. Because now what we're going to look at is what you shouldn't do in order to stop it. Because the typical way that we try to stop a critical voice is to criticize it. Of course, right? To tell it, to shame it and to say, you should be here, you should go away, and why do I do that? And so you just beat yourself up more because you beat yourself up. And so it's kind of like the same pattern playing out. Well, how do I get rid of something about myself that I don't like? Well, I will criticize it. Even if what I'm criticizing is the fact that I criticize myself. It doesn't make much sense, does it? No. And truthfully, it doesn't work. You can't criticize yourself and create change. Shame does not create change in a person. Shaming yourself is not going to cause you to change. What needs to change is that pattern. And criticizing it does not make it go away. In fact, if you think about it, if you're criticizing yourself for criticizing yourself, then you're reinforcing that pattern by criticizing yourself. And so this is why it really does not work. What do you think about that? Let me know below. Now we've looked at, and I hope you'll be able to understand this, of how that self-critic formed in you, how it created these neural pathways that are getting set off automatically. We've looked at what doesn't work, and that is criticizing yourself and trying to just force it to go away. That does not work. But what does work is to create new pathways. So how do you do this? Well, I'm going to use the example again of me driving to my new house, or continuing to drive to my old house instead of my new house. And it really wasn't this bad. I didn't have this much trouble with it, but it's a good example. So I'm going to kind of exaggerate it some here, but okay. So if you think about if you're driving on automatic and you go in a wrong direction, the first thing that happens is you notice kind of some of the road signs and buildings and just landmarks that are along the way. So when I would first of all start driving toward my old house, then I would notice some of the restaurants. I would notice the road signs. And then it would kind of just dawn on me, I am driving to my old house, not my new house. And so then I would turn around and go to my new house. Okay, so how is this like what you need to do with that inner critic? You need to notice what the road signs are. You need to notice what the landmarks are. And those would be, first of all, situations that tend to cause you to criticize yourself. So just think about those right now. Let me know below. What are the situations that typically cause you, that trigger that automatic inner voice, inner critic to be so harsh on you? And then also some road signs would be to notice the emotions that are getting triggered. Is it embarrassment? Is it anger? Is it disappointment? Is it hurt from others? What are the emotions that usually occur that get that automatic response kicked into gear? And so those are going to be the ways that you're going to be able to notice the signs along the way. Now, also, when I was getting used to driving to my new house instead of my old house, like I said, I would start to go that way to my old house. I would notice these signs, and then I would be like, oh, going the wrong way. And I would turn around and go toward my new house. So as I did that, I was creating a new pattern within my brain, a new neural pathway that says, no, we don't go this way anymore. I was short-circuiting that pattern. And so you will need to do the same thing with that critical voice, is to short-circuit it, so that when you notice that you are saying these negative things to yourself and beating yourself up, to stop. And again, don't be critical of it. Don't yell at yourself like, oh, there you go again. You'll never get any better. You're always going to be doing this. Don't do that. That's reinforcing it, remember? Okay. But instead, just notice it. Here I am. There it is. I noticed. Okay. I'm turning around right here, and I'm not going to go in this direction. And then as you continue to do that, then new neural pathways will begin to form so that you will notice it sooner and sooner. You won't get so far along down the road before you notice it. But instead, you can notice, oh, here I am in a situation that normally causes me to criticize myself. And so I'm not going to do that this time. And then the last tip I want to give you on this is to notice how that feels. And when you can do that, that will reinforce that new pathway. So right now, just think about, what is it like when you criticize yourself? Think about how it feels for you. What does it do to your body? Does it weigh you down? Does it cause you to slump over? Does it cause you to pull away from people, to pull away from life? That's what I would guess, how it would make you feel. And so notice though, when you don't criticize yourself, say someone gives you a compliment, and instead of negating it by saying, oh no, this outfit, this is old, or, oh, I'm actually just too heavy for this outfit. I'm too fat. Don't do that. When you don't say that, when you just receive the compliment, how's that feel? And you actually, truthfully, you might get a little mixture of feelings. It might feel good, but it also might feel scary. And so just pay attention to that. Just notice, look at that. I'm feeling a little scared here that I just received a compliment and just took it in. Or if you don't criticize yourself, you mess up with something and you don't criticize yourself, and then think about, what did that feel like? Just to allow yourself not to be perfect, to mess up and just go on with life. Does that feel good? Does it feel maybe light? Does it feel warm to your heart? Light on your shoulders, like lifting a weight off? Let me know what that's like. If you try it today, come back here and let me know what it's like to, for instance, mess up with writing, paying your bills, or writing a check, or, going in the wrong direction, like I was talking about, but not criticizing yourself and just moving on, letting it be. Let me know how that feels for you. So what we've looked at today is for the person who has that inner critic going on, that it just won't shut up its mouth. What's really going on is that automatic response is getting triggered that was formed a long, long time ago, and there are neural pathways in your brain that are getting kicked in. And what doesn't work to change that is to criticize yourself, but instead that reinforces it, that negative pattern. What you want to do instead is to create new neural pathways. And you have to learn those, you have to practice, you have to repeat it over and over. And you also want to reinforce those new networks by paying attention to them, paying attention to what you did, pay attention to how it felt within your body. Maybe even what emotions that created. The good emotions, and maybe even some that were uncomfortable, because you'll be able to move through them. Eventually it'll start really feeling good. And as I mentioned earlier, I do have a free offer for you that I really want you to know about right now and to get signed up for. I have a free webinar coming up on healing 3 secrets. 3 secrets to heal childhood trauma in women. And the sign up for that is, you'll find that at arenewedlife.com/trauma wow, I'm really messing this up. You will find that at arenewedlife.com/webinar-trauma. Don't miss it. Get signed up today. And before you go, don't forget to give me a like and to subscribe. Thanks a lot. Bye.